Welcome to the messed up world of common names. Today we're basically going to talk about why you should never ever use common names when trying to identify fish. So most of the things that you know fish by are common names, but there's some serious problems and just some serious stupidity going on with common names. And when you're IDing, especially in any sort of scientific fashion, you should always use the scientific names. And we'll talk about why. So, first things first, let's play a little game. Who can tell me what this is? Why is everyone saying a fish? What type of fish, dumbasses? Obviously it's a fish. I meant what type of fish? Sunfish. Okay. The consensus is it is a sunfish. Okay. Can everyone agree that this is some sort of sunfish, right? You don't have to know exactly which one, but some sort of sunfish. Okay, great. Yes, it's some sort of sunfish. Okay, good. Good, great. All right, what is this? Largemouth bass, 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 bass. Okay, so this is a sunfish, and this is a largemouth bass. Okay, those are their common names. But what if I told you that they're both sunfish? This is actually a sunfish. It's called a largemouth bass, but it's actually a sunfish, and it's not related to bass whatsoever. Yeah, they're both sunfish. So are smallmouth bass. They're also sunfish. And crappies, they're also sunfish. Okay? And you wouldn't realize that until you looked at the Latin name and saw Centrarchidae, which is the sunfish family, which they both belong to. This is a real bass. This is a black sea bass. This is a true bass. Has absolutely no relation to the largemouth bass. Largemouth bass is just a big sunfish, and they called it a bass because somewhere along the line, some scientist looked at this and thought, oh yeah, that looks like a true bass, and decided to name it, even though it really doesn't. I mean, you can clearly see this is like the spiny and the soft part of the dorsal fin are connected, whereas here there's a break in between. So somewhere along the way, some scientists decided to call this a largemouth bass, even though it has no relation to this bass whatsoever, okay? And so you can start to see like sunfish, largemouth bass. Oh wait, they're both sunfish, and the thing called largemouth bass is not actually a bass. So this common name is the worst. It not only doesn't tell you what family this fish is actually in, but it tells you a family that the fish isn't actually in and makes you think it's in. And you start to realize that maybe common names, maybe the dumb things that scientists come up with, or even locals come up with in their cultures when they see fish for the first time, aren't always the best things. Here's a fun one. I included an Among Us meme, and I'm now regretting it because I have to read "There's an imposter among us." All of these fish are called sheepshead. Bro. This is a sheepshead wrasse. This is a sheepshead. This is a sheepshead porgy. This is a sheepshead minnow. No, wait, this is a sheepshead. Oh, and this is a freshwater drum, which can also be called a sheepshead. All of these, in some culture, in English, can be referred to as a sheepshead. None of them are related whatsoever, might I add. These guys have absolutely no relation whatsoever. Look, when you look at the scientific names, it becomes very clear. You've got Sabrinodon variegatus, Archosargus protocephalus, Semicocyphus reticulatus, Calamus penna, and Aplodintus greniens. None of them are even remotely related. There's not even a single shared characteristic in any of the Latin here. And yet, these are the family of sheepshead. You can call them all sheepshead. It is legitimate in some culture across the world that speaks English to call these sheepshead. And this is why common names fucking suck. Because if I called this an Archosargus protocephalus, you would say, okay, yes, you mean the sheepshead, the one with the fucked up teeth, good eating. They're starting to show up in New Jersey now. Yeah, scientific names can be difficult to say. I agree. I think that, in my opinion, and maybe I'll talk about it more at the end, I think that scientific names are too complicated for the average person to use. So this creates a weird problem where common names suck, but scientific names are too difficult to memorize. I think that there should be a standard name, which is basically a common name that is universal. So you can call this a sheepshead, but you can only call this a sheepshead if that is the only fish in the English language that you call a sheepshead. The problem is this. So there's the sheepshead family, but that doesn't even come close to comparing to some other quote-unquote families. There are some common names for fish that we use so insanely widely, even though the things are absolutely nothing related. Just to demonstrate that, I'm going to go through the wide world of perch. These are all of the fish that are called perch. First of all, we have actual perch, the freshwater genus, you know, actually called perch, Balkash perch, European perch, yellow perch. But then we have the temperate perch. Of course, then we have the surf perch, the shiner perch, the pile perch, the barber perch, the estuary perch, the golden perch, the macquarie perch, the Nile perch, the parati perch, the white perch, the rock perch, the Sacramento perch, the silver perch species, the climbing perch family, the lepomis, which are the sunfish, which are sometimes called perch, the Japanese perch, the pond perch, the blue perch, the Japanese white sea perch, Japanese red sea perch, and Japanese black sea perch. And none of these groups are related. Sebastes, Batis, Lepomis, Corioperca, oh Jesus Christ, Leopotheropon, Bidianis, Byardella, Archopolites, Perca, these are the only ones that are related, the Perca family. Moroni, that's more related to the fucking striped bass, the actual sea bass. Amblyplites, Lates, Macquaria, Cassioperca, Cymatogaster. You see what I mean? There's like 1,000 fucking perch, and none of them are even remotely related to each other. So when you say perch, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like you could say, oh yeah, this is a white perch. I've caught a white perch, and you're like, oh, a white perch. You could catch it even like near fresh water and like brackish water or whatever, and you say, oh, a white perch is in the perch family. No, white perch is actually in the Moroni family, Moroni americana. It's not in the perch family. The perch family is only Balkash European and yellow perch. You'd be like, oh, the climbing perches, oh, the pond perches, oh, the blue perches, oh, sunfish, yeah, we call those perches. None of them are perches. I don't know how to say this better other than common names fucking suck. And so in addition to common names being confusing by the fact that we name things too often with the same names, another fun thing is that whoever discovers the fish generally gets naming rights, or the common names sometimes come from cultures, okay? So we get some pretty stupid names for fish sometimes. Here's some of my favorite. We have the wabagong, the slippery dick wrasse, the sarcastic fringehead, and the red-lipped batfish. Okay? These are all real common names for fish that if scientific names did not exist, we would have to write these in scientific papers. A scientist would have to say that their study on the slippery dick wrasse was whatever. The last, and I think thing that you guys will find the most interesting about using common names rather than scientific names is you can't tell what family some fish belong to. This is a fish that I caught. This is not a photo of the one that I caught, but I caught off the coast of New Jersey just on Friday. It's called a northern pipefish. They're a cool, elongated fish with armor. And you might think, wow, that's cool. That's a northern pipefish. Just because you hear northern pipefish. But then, when you look at the scientific names, and not just the common names, you see something. The northern pipefish is closely related to the seahorse. And this entire time it's been tricking you. You guys liked the northern pipefish, but you didn't know all along. They were both Syngnathidae. Yeah, that's right. Yep, exactly. You've been tricked. And let that be a lesson to you on why you shouldn't use common names. They will betray you. You won't realize. Seahorse, but the tail is unraveled. Kind of, yeah. This is like an actually viable version of the seahorse, except it's still stupid. And yeah, that's my presentation on common names and fish.